Well, stocks sinking after the Supreme Court rejects President Trump's bid to block a subpoena for his financial records by a New York prosecutor. Now, I think it's an indictment of the Manhattan DA and perhaps the Wall Street sensing their inability to keep the information secret. Also, though, perhaps it will be a one-day event. Meanwhile, folks, this whole market this whole year has been sort of a Dickens tale of two cities. Instead, it's been two stock markets, two equity indices. One, of course, weighed down by those old economic names and old technology names as well. The other one sprinting ahead on new economic names. And, well, these are the companies that are going to inform how we work and live in the future. Meanwhile, general anxiety continues to hover over this market, most of it revolving around this next round of stimulus. This, as we learned something in the last two sessions, maybe the market prefers a stronger economy over more Fed stimulus. Think about this. With an hour left to trade on Tuesday, one of the most powerful folks at the Fed, Vice Chairman Clarida, he actually bragged about the unlimited buying power. And guess what? The market sold off into the close. And then yesterday, with about an hour left in trading, James Bullard, who doesn't even have a vote in the FOMC, said that unemployment could drop to 7% this year, and the stock market rallied. I think this market wants good news. I want to bring in Keith Fitz-Gerald from the Fitz-Gerald Group. He's the principal there, of course. Walser Wealth Management President Rebecca Walser. Rebecca, to you first. Let's start with the Supreme Court reaction, the stock market's reaction to the Supreme Court today.
It's uncertainty, Charles. Anytime we have uncertainty or, possible a sitting president that is running for re-election that, damaging records. And I'm not saying they're damaging, I'm just projecting that, that's what people are thinking that they might be. The market doesn't like uncertainty. And so this is not good for the market. We like stability and certainty. And it also makes investors think that maybe Joe Biden really will be the president. And I think his policies are a disaster for our economy and certainly for our free market.
Keith, I would go a step further in not only saying uncertainty, but maybe certainty in terms of disrupting the election process. I think it's pretty clear the market is saying they prefer President Trump over President Biden.
Well, I agree with you. And I think the market's job is not to decide who's right or wrong. The market's job is to decide who's profitable. So, let's put that on the table for now. To Rebecca's point, uncertainty is the driver here. They're simply getting cautious. They're taking their foot off the gas. It's natural to do that right now, particularly against a changing narrative.
On the notion of taking or keeping your foot on the gas, Keith, the notion that the stock market now needs good news, not stimulus to rally, is what I took out of the last two sessions. Because when the vice chairman of the Fed says, hey, we have unlimited buying power and the market goes down, and then the next day another Fed official says, we just see the economy getting better. 7% unemployment and their market rallies. Maybe it's time just to root for good news.
I'm chuckling because I agree with you. This is like the emperor has no clothes. Everybody knows that the Fed is a train wreck. Everybody knows that you can't pay off this amount of debt forever. They're playing kick the can down the road. And I think that traders know it. Investors know it. So it's one of those things where everybody went, more spending? Give me good news. Give me a CEO that knows what they're doing. Give me a company that's growing. That's the real good news. That's what investors should focus on.
Yeah, except it's more like one of those oil drums than a can anymore. Rebecca, your thoughts on, just the psychology of the market right now. I think obviously the market embraced and loved the fact that the Fed triggered so much buying. But at this point, how important is it that we continue to see good news?
Charles, we have to. This market needs to recover, and, that's not going to happen. I think that people will get back to normal lives as soon as the media starts being really transparent about what's really going on with this virus. And I have to say, I think it's been turned into a really big political situation. And, we've used to talk about, this is what's actually happening with hospitalizations, deaths. And now we talk about our case counts. And I look at the case counts going up as this is pretty much an unstoppable thing at this point. We're looking at herd immunity as the only possibility of getting back to normal. And the second we realize that and we get back to flying and going out to restaurants and we reopen, let's get it done. We need good economic news, and this economy is ready for it. It's ready to just burst open if we just get back to some sort of normalcy instead of the second, Charles, that we had some great things going on and we had the economy rebounding because we were reopening. You notice the news all turned to cases, and they even changed how they count cases. So this is all not great, and we need to get back to what we do every day, which is go out and live our lives.
And it's so hard to even find out how many people have been discharged or have recovered from it. Before, that was always part of the headlines. On that line of thinking, I think two intriguing stocks this morning, Carnival Cruise Lines and Six Flags, right? Because the cruise operator says they're going to go back to sea. August 5th, they got a voyage coming out of Hamburg. And then, of course, on the amusement park side, you had a major firm, Rebecca, upgrade Six Flags to a buy. So this dovetails back to what you're saying. Will that be the ultimate sign that we as a people, as a nation, perhaps the world, over the hump when people really start to go out on cruise ships again, when we start to actually go to these amusement parks?
Is that to me, Charles? I thought that was to
Yes.
Keith. Yeah, Charles, I'm ready.
Well, I'd like you both to answer.
I want to take my
Okay,
kids out.
that's good. Hey,
I'm
Keith.
being at home. Let's go out.
Well, I tell you what,
Keith, to me, that's the ultimate sign.
It is, because, to you and Rebecca's point, we've got to live. Now, I've lost an aunt to this. I've lost two friends to this. It's very real to me and my family. But you know what? That said, we still have to get out there. That's what society needs. That's how humankind functions. That's what hope, aspiration, and optimism are all about. To me, you can be in to win, but still do it cautiously, do it properly. I'm very excited to see those happen. I'm supposed to be on a cruise in November myself, so who knows?
Yes.
Wow. All right. I want to get a postcard. By the way, to Rebecca was saying, the financial media really hasn't hurt the rally, but I think they've stopped a lot of individual investors from participating, and that bothers me a lot. Keith, Rebecca, great stuff. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you both real soon. Meanwhile,